Martha, good morning and thank you for joining us. I know you intended to be in Dar es Salaam this morning, but here you are.
Yeah, I intended to be at court at a place called Kisutu, but having been deported, I'm happy to be here with you. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Jano is going to get you straight into our quote for the day.
Right. The quote for today was, in many ways, I think, inspired by what happened, last night when we saw everything that was happening to senior counsel. But Nelson Mandela once said in 1994, he was giving his inauguration speech, and one of the remarks he mentioned, disregard for law is the gateway to anarchy. That's what he said. How does that fit just in everything that's been happening, senior counsel, over the last few months or even years?
I would just say how true. Look at us. Look at the disregard and violation of the rights of the people right here in Kenya. Abductions, murder, or is it execution, torture. Look at the abuse of public funds, public resources, and all the wrong things that are happening that we can renovate. State House, all offices of Dr. William Ruto, but we don't have money for vaccines or for children's examinations. Really, disregard for the law is the gateway to anarchy.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Now let's start just from, we'll come back home.
Yeah.
Let's go to our neighbors. In fact, one of the headlines in Taifa Leo today says, udikteta kwa majirani kwa teketea. And they look at Tanzania, they look at Uganda, they look at South Sudan, where opposition leaders are in custody. In Tanzania, Tundu Lissu, who is the leader for Chadema, Chama cha Demokrasia na Maendeleo, an opposition party, is in custody facing treason charges ahead of October's elections. And he's been pushing for some reform. You were to attend his hearing today. Why is he facing treason charges?
For merely demanding that there should be reforms before elections. I do not know since when demanding for reforms and protesting by saying if there are no reforms, they will not participate in the elections became a criminal offense. Tundu Lissu is the biggest challenger of Mama Samia Suluhu, the president of Tanzania. Treason charges are political by nature because it's the incumbent saying, you want to overthrow me through unlawful means. Refusing to participate in elections is not an unlawful means. So by detaining Tundu Lissu, Mama Samia is trying to go past the goal without a challenger. Yeah.
What is the legal threshold for treason? We've had it thrown around even here. People are called treasonous criminals. What's the legal threshold for treason?
It is high, but the law is as good as the court implementing it. Last time I was in Tanzania to observe Tundu Lissu's case, they refused to produce him in court, insisting that the case will be conducted virtually. Tundu Lissu refused to participate virtually. His lawyers made an application for a physical appearance and cited the clear provisions of the Constitution of Tanzania and the law. A public trial and the serious nature of treason and why he must be physically present. The court rejected that plea and decreed that the hearing will be virtual. I suppose after a round of condemnation around the world, the court reviewed itself, and today, Tundu Lissu is expected at the Kisutu court physically. So today was going to be a big day. And we went out there in solidarity, not just because he's a lawyer for me, he's also a fellow politician. And we are worried about the trend in the region. In Kenya, in Uganda, in Tanzania, and now in Burundi. If I may stop there, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania are the countries in East Africa that looked like they were, trying to perfect their democracies. They are pioneers in democratic tradition. For me, it's very key. These three falling, like they appear to be falling, if we don't do something about it, it spells doom for the Jumuiya and for us as citizens of the Jumuiya. So we were out there in solidarity, but also knowing that what is happening mirrors what is happening to us, and we must push back to prevent the Jumuiya being used by the leadership as a tool for them to stand in solidarity to oppress. We must stand in solidarity as citizens to push back.
Yeah, I was going to even ask, but you spoke to it. I was going to say there seems to be this sinister coordination with these different states. I don't know if you spoke, it's true, and she's highlighted it. It just seems to be coordination.
Yeah.
It's very sinister because it's playing out in a certain way. You may have already spoken to it, but what actions do you intend to pursue in light of this deportation and everything that happened over the last few hours?
I think my host, the East African Law Society, will help us take action. The deportation is illegal as per the constitutive act, which is the treaty of the Jumuiya. The main reason of the treaty is to allow free movement of the people of Jumuiya, to allow trade, therefore movement of goods and services, and many other things. And one of the foundational principles is the rule of law principle, that these nations of the Jumuiya will adhere to the rule of law. So Tanzania has not only violated the East Africa Treaty, I believe they've also violated their own constitution. You cannot, as a leader, use the state as a personal tool. What harm was I and my colleagues, or the CJ Emeritus, who also has been detained alongside Hanifa and Khalid, what wrong will they do or harm to the people of Tanzania by standing in solidarity with Tundu Lissu? Maybe it will irritate Mama Samia and her CCM adherents, because they'll see that they support for fairness to Tundu Lissu. Maybe if they have no intention of having a fair trial, that's an irritant. So the state cannot be used as a personal tool. You cannot deport people whom you don't like or who are not aligned to your views. You deport criminals. You deport people who have broken the law. We went legally.
We're asking you to hold on because we have found one of the other people who's been detained at the airport this morning in Tanzania, Hussein Khalid, who's there with Hanifa and also CJ Emeritus, Professor Willie Mutunga. Hussein, I don't think you can hear us. I cannot ask you good morning, but just as a greeting, how are you?
Not very okay.
Yeah.
But somehow we are managing the situation, as you've very well said on studio, together with Senior Counsel Martha, who's been here. We are just waiting. We're told there's a senior officer who's supposed to come to make a decision on our case. So we're just waiting.
The case being what exactly? Why are you being, what was the reason given for your detention? Have you been, charged with anything?
Absolutely no reason. Up to this point in time, we've not been told why we're being held. We were in the queue for the visa, for the immigration to get cleared, and I was in the same line with the CJ. They stopped us, and then in a few seconds, we saw Hanifa also being brought our way. And then the three of us were told to wait behind. And then after like 20, 30 minutes, they took us to a room on the side of the immigration department, a written interrogation room. And that's where we've been since.
So go ahead.
Have you been interrogated?
Not yet. We are waiting for the senior guy.
How many hours has it been?
4 hours, I think, from around 3 or 4, to now, so around 4 hours.
And Hussein, in those 4 hours, as you've mentioned, nobody has said anything, no indication. Obviously, you have access to your line. Have other things been withdrawn? Any other privileges been withdrawn from you and the rest?
No privilege has been withdrawn. Yes, we've had our phones, and we've been engaging these immigration officers, asking them why they're holding us, but they're tight-lipped. They're cagey with information. They're not saying anything, only to tell us that they're waiting for the senior guy to to come in. He will be the one to talk to us.
Would you allow me to advise Hussein, like I did when I talked to CJ
Yes.
Emeritus, demand to
Yes.
be taken to the KFC upstairs? And I hope the interrogation room is not the one with beds, because that's not a very clean room. Just ask them to take you to KFC where you can buy yourself water or even coffee, because I'm sure they have not given you even water throughout that period.
True. Actually, when they brought us to this side, they tried to tell us to go to one side, myself and CJ, and Hanifa to the other side, and we said no, we are not going to be divided. You put us together, or we don't go anywhere. So we refused to be, for Hanifa to be put on one side and the two of us on another side. But yes, that's good advice. I'll just, because we've not eaten, we've not been given anything, so we'll immediately ask to be taken to the KFC.
Pole lakini.
Thank you for that. Asante. I guess it's a part of the struggle. Bado mapambano.
Indeed. So Martha has told us that she was there on the invitation of the East African Law Society.
Yeah.
How did you end up there? Were you invited by the same organization, or did you go there privately?
We were invited. We were invited by colleagues, friends from the human rights sector, a number of organizations. I think it may not be appropriate right now. It may not be appropriate right now to give names because we still don't know what's happening. But yes, we didn't come uninvited. We have institutions that invited us.
All right, Hussein, thank you for speaking to us, and we wish you all the best. Pass our regards, of course, to Dr. Willie Mutunga and to Hanifa. All the best.
I will. Thank you so much, Latif.
Asante. Well, this is quite disturbing. And you say Tundu is in custody. He's facing a treason charge, which is not bailable, right? In Tanzania, it's not bailable. You stay in. But it's because he was pushing for electoral reforms ahead of the October election. What exact reforms is he pushing for?
I do not have the entire list of the reforms, but one of them is to amend the law to allow those aggrieved by the results of a presidential petition to challenge the results in a court of law. In Tanzania, you don't challenge results.
What is announced by the electoral body is final.
That's final.
And that's been, historically, that's what it's been.
No, I think it's an amendment that came a little later. This is bizarre to tell somebody that you cannot question. How then do you even hold the electoral body accountable? The last local authority elections, which were in November, December last year, CCM was said to have won by 98%, a practical impossibility. That's the commission you're being told you can't challenge their word.
You know, Tundu Lissu had several run-ins with the former president, the late John Pombe Magufuli. And in fact, he was shot several times. He came to recover.
16 times.
16 times. And he came to recover here. Mama Samia was his deputy president then. But also, you know, the person who was also in charge of conversations around constitution reform. And Tundu, in many times, said, it's still the same leadership, but I'm going back into my country. I want to have conversations with the current leadership of the country, and I want to see if we can, you know, forge a path towards democracy. Do you think he made any headway?
There's a time things had relaxed immediately. Mama Samia came in, and there seemed to be ease in the country. But very quickly, there's been a reversal of that. And we are, I believe, going past Pombe Magufuli in terms of the brutality, the regression, and all that. Yeah.
This may sound like an obvious question, but what kind of precedence is this setting for different countries? Just the, I guess, the blazon circumvention of constitution and law. What precedent do you think this sets?
Terrible, terrible. And the pioneer in this, the one who stayed close to half a century, is President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda.
Right.
I once said a year ago, and I keep repeating it, that I thought Dr. William Ruto was an apprentice in dictatorship and was in a hurry to graduate. It is incumbent on all of us to thwart any such graduation into dictatorship. We are already doing badly. So to all citizens of East Africa, we really must arise and use the available legal means to stop this monster of dictatorship that seems to have a grip on the region.
Right. The region sometimes seems fragmented, sometimes seems a little bit more united, but now it seems that the leadership is more or less speaking in one with one voice. What does collaboration look like for now for the region from a law perspective, bodies like the East African Law Society and cooperating with us? What does that look like so that we push back against this, not just in our internal national cocoons, but yes, regionally?
Let me say, on the one hand, states gone rogue collaborating to oppress. On the other hand, a movement of citizens and civil society standing in solidarity with one another. We have seen the bar associations in the 3 countries come together to push back. We have seen the East African, the regional body, the East African Law Society, the Pan-African Lawyers Association, PALU, get interested in issues where rights and civil liberties are at stake. We've been with them in Uganda on Dr. Besige's case, and when lawyer Chisa Aaron was brutalized and jailed for contempt without trial. And we are now with these bodies in Tanzania, standing in solidarity with fellow lawyer, fellow politician, Tundu Lissu. So there is a growing movement of citizens of the Jumuiya on one hand and the emerging authoritarian heads in the region.
Tomorrow marks an important date since Kizza Besigye was incarcerated. How many months?
It will be 6 months tomorrow. And there is a law in Uganda that even if the offense is not bailable and you've been denied bail, if you've been in custody for 6 months and you have not been tried, you ought to be released on bail. The case for Dr. Kizza Besigye, actually it's today that he marks 6 months, 20th. Tomorrow, he'll be in the High Court seeking bail because the Nakawa Court, where he is charged with treason and where they are doing what in Kenya used to be known as preliminary inquiry before you know, when you are charged with the capital. And then investigations are done after. For capital charges where the offense is death. So they take you through a process. It used to be for both murder and treason. So he's being taken through that preliminary inquiry before he's committed to the High Court. But in the meantime, he has applied to bail in the High Court. I am his lead counsel in the Nakawa Court, but I got a practicing certificate a week ago, very restrictive, that allows me only to represent him in Nakawa Court. So if the bail question has gone to the High Court, I have no voice in the High Court. So it is a very, very restrictive, which I intend to consult with the bar associations to see what exactly that portends, because it affects the right to counsel of choice for Dr. Besigye. I was also denied the license to act for lawyer Aaron Chisa, who is out on bail on no offense because he had been convicted by an incompetent court. So the ruling of the Supreme Court meant he be released, but he's been released on bail on no charge.
I know we're about to go into, actually it's already 3 minutes to, I wanted to ask a question about, I'm just making an observation, maybe the rise in agency is causing the counter rise of oppressive tactics. Maybe there's that silver lining, is that because as East Africans, activists and lawyers and personalities have been pushing back on oppressive tactics, it almost seems like that's encouraging more of the oppressive tactics. Does that make sense? Is that an observation you've made?
I think we should get worried. And I'm now talking to the business people. You are in your comfort zone, yet you are the ones whose operations are affected on the ground. And the treaty is for the movement of persons, goods, and to encourage each other to observe the rule of law and democracy. How are Kenyan businessmen and women faring, in particularly in Tanzania, in Uganda? I know Kenyan lawyers are not allowed to practice. It's very difficult to get a practicing certificate in Uganda. You remember me being denied and called names. In Tanzania. And in Kenya, we allow everybody. We have over 500 Ugandan lawyers and many others from Tanzania. And we have business people. But we know as a fact that particularly in Tanzania, business people have difficulties. What we are asking, where are you, the Kenyan state? What do you exist for, if it is not to assist your citizens? Has any protest not gone since our detention and deportation yesterday, which has now been repeated? The CJI Emeritus, Dr. Willy Mutunga, Khalid Hussein, and Hanifa are now also detained. Or is Kenya complicit in these detentions?
We're going to a break, and we come back and continue our conversation with Martha Karua, the People's Liberation Party leader, and also we'll be tracking what's happening in Tanzania, in Kitale. The home of Governor George Natembeya has been visited by a heavily armed contingent of police officers, and they say that they are accompanied by officers from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. We'll be speaking to our reporter there and see if we can get some more details. But that's in our news fix coming up next. Don't go away. We're on NTV, Nation FM, and on everywhere where you have a broadcast signal and
an internet signal.
There you go.
Fake. Out. Hashtag remains fixing the nation NTV. We are back in conversation with Senior Counsel Martha Karua, also party leader for the People's Liberation Party. We were discussing matters, EAC and our politics. And just before we get to local matters, I wanted to know, and she had already hinted at this, has there been any communication from, our ambassador to Tanzania or vice versa, anyone from our Foreign Affairs Ministry regarding this deportation? What has happened? What is our government doing? Because Kenyan citizens were deported from Tanzania and denied entry in a place where they should be allowed. So what has been the response of our ministry and our diplomats?
The Kenyan ambassador to Tanzania, Mr. Isaac Jenga, I believe, called through the phone of the Kenya Airways personnel. That is at the end stage, where we are being pushed to get Kenya Airways, and a Kenya Airways person has been brought to us, and they're telling us to change our tickets because they want to deport us with our tickets. And we ask them who is going to pay for the, change of schedule, and they say it's us. So at that stage, a Kenya Airways person came, told me he is speaking to the ambassador, and the ambassador is seeking to speak to me. I spoke to him. He said they were doing whatever they could, and that he was trying to get in touch with authorities, and that the Kenya Airways could hold for a minute while he consults. Within about 30 minutes, Kenya Airways was back, that our tickets are now ready for coming back to Kenya. We asked who have paid for them. At first, the lady from Tanzania said it's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I don't know whether Tanzania or Kenya. So I am saying, in the absence of any protest note by Kenya, we then will conclude they are complicit in our deportation. And how come it has happened a second time? How can a former Chief Justice Emeritus Willy Mutunga be denied entry to Tanzania? What about Khalid and Hanifa? Does that mean Kenyans are not welcome?
In Tanzania.
In Tanzania? What is wrong? Their constitution talks about a public trial Tundu Lissu's trial is not secret, it's public.
Yeah.
So what harm would be caused? We were in court in Kisutu. We sat quietly like observers should. We only addressed the media on leaving. Is that the irritation? I don't understand.
Interesting to see what happens here.
Yeah.
Coming back to the country and just breaking into this conversation, because there's some breaking news coming out of Kitale, where there's a raid happening right now at the home of the Tanzania Governor George Natembeya in Kitale. A contingent of uniformed and plainclothes officers are said to be there, and then there's a crowd that's also gathering there. Our reporter Evans Jaola, who is in Kitale, joins us now on the line. Evans, thank you very much for speaking to us. What's happening where you are right now?
Thank you much. Thank you very much. As just you say, there's a contingent of police officers here outside Governor George Natembeya's Milimani home, and some officers in plainclothes suspected to be from EACC are already inside his home, and the governor himself have confirmed that the governor himself is inside the home. So there is a lot of tension here outside his home. Residents have come here and have come. They're wondering if the governor will be arrested or what is going on inside his house. So it is something that we are following up, but what I can confirm is that there is a growing number of residents that are coming here outside the governor's home just to see and go through what is going on here. But also what I can say is police officers are here, anti-riot police officers who are already put anti-riot gears are also here, and some in plainclothes. So it is something we are following up. Some of the top county officials who had come here to the governor's home have been blocked to get entry into his home, his house, and we are waiting to see what is going on here. I can see some members of county assembly who are outside the gate are still trying to get entry into his home. So we cannot confirm what is going on inside. But what I can say is that we can see heavy vehicles of police officers with personal number plates and non-number plates outside the home.
Personal number plates, you mean like civilian, like KD, like that? And then no number plates as well?
Yes, that is what I mean.
All right. And they haven't identified themselves as being from the EACC or anywhere else?
Unless when we try to get entry into their home, because the police officers who are outside have not engaged us. But we have confirmed that some police officers who are suspected to be from EACC have entered the home, and some of the people who had been earlier here who we have talked to said that some of them entered with some items like boxes. So we are trying to confirm what really is going on inside.
All right. I can hear, some noise behind you. What are those people saying? What's their agitation?
These are residents who have come here, and they are trying to ask why the governor might be arrested, and they are trying to protest any form of arrest of the governor. We are seeing a huge number of youth coming in. Some of them are coming trying to engage the police, but the police are calm here, even as the number continues to grow. Some border people are coming, and we hope it might not turn chaotic. We continue to monitor the situation.
Okay. All right. Please stay safe, Evans. Safety is our number one priority, but thank you so much for the update, and of course we'll touch base with you in a short while, but please do stay safe, and thank you.
Thank you.
Worrying developments all across, I think.
Yeah. So we don't know the exact details of what's happening there, where the police have gone to Natembeya's home. Of course, details will emerge, and Evans will give us more information as we go. But back to our conversation with Martha Karua on the situation that's happening around the region, but also now back home. First of all, but the headline in the Daily Nation today: Gachagua faces arrests because of the words that are attributed to him, what he said over the weekend in an interview, where he was talking about the composition of the IEBC, the preparation for the next general election, and warning of violence. Did you see what the former DP said?
I saw some of it. I didn't see it live. I hardly watch whatever.
Yeah.
But I have the gist of what he said. Yeah.
What do you make of what he said when he talks about...
Before I say what I make of what he said, I am asking Dr. William Ruto and his regime, why the drama? Why do you raid a governor's home like it's a flight risk? Do the police have a warrant to go and terrorize Governor George Natembeya and his family? Why do you send police to condone all the homes of the second deputy president of Kenya, Rigathi Gachagua? Do you have a warrant? Or is it anything goes? When the government becomes the terrorist, then what do the citizens do? I just want to say, any roughing up of the people gathering at Natembeya's home or any injuries are on you, Dr. William Ruto. This is not the way to operate. Back to what Gachagua said. The way I have interpreted it, he was just giving a warning. Don't you dare tamper with the electoral process. And by the way, the tampering has begun. Look at how the IEBC commission was formed. Look at its composition without consultation with the opposition, because they cannot say they consulted with Raila. Right Honorable Raila right now is part of government, though he denies. Therefore, if they were to consult, it is with my twin, Dr. Kalonzo Musyoka, and Eugene, who have members of parliament. So they have not consulted. What DP Rigathi was doing is sounding a warning. And we've seen violence, election-related violence, since 2007. We've seen election-related violence after the 2022 general elections. I was involved in the Azimio demonstrations. Over 70 people died, close to 100 actually, thousands injured. So has DP Rigathi said anything new? He's reminding. And we all know that after the 2007 elections, there was a bloodbath, and that people were subsequently taken to The Hague, who included Dr. William Ruto. We also know witnesses disappeared. And there are people in this Kenya who know where those witnesses are or how they disappeared. So it's just sounding a warning in a volatile situation. If the KK regime is certain that they'll run good elections, they should not be worried about what the DP Gachagua said. They should be cleaning up the system to ensure free and fair election and to eradicate election-related violence in Kenya forever.
I want to come to opposition politics in just a bit, but just going back to the consultation on IEBC. It's essentially independent. Some might argue there's no consultation needed. Let the IEBC exercises be carried out. We saw them televised. Some might say, okay, that's fine. So where does consulting with opposition or consulting with government come in for an exercise? Yeah.
It's not me who decreed it. We were not part of NADCO. We rejected NADCO as PLP under the name we used to go under. So, but both Dr. Kalonzo Musyoka's wiper and Eugene's DP were part of the NADCO report. And the NADCO report became law. And it is in black and white that there should be consultation with the opposition. So unless if Dr. Ruto and KK are admitting that the opposition was conned in NADCO, the law demands they be consulted. That's all that we are saying.
How did the consultation come in, according to the NADCO agreement? Was the consultation before the composition of the selection panel?
In picking the composition of the selection panel, and you saw Dr. Musyoka go to court, and he was represented in, Wiper was represented in that committee that was giving the possible names, but in picking the final names, once a list of names is taken to Dr. Ruto, he should have consulted with the opposition, but he didn't. So he skipped a vital step.
Why was that introduced?
Now, I wasn't part of NADCO.
Do you agree with it?
No, I didn't agree with NADCO.
Do you think it's a good step? Now,
consultation is a good step. It's always been there. Yeah. In fact, all the time before elections, there's been pressure and skirmishes leading to consultations. Even 2017, when the law did not say so, there was the coming together of ODM and Jubilee in order to prepare for the 2017 elections. And I remember complaining, we were not part of it, to say that elections are not about two parties, other stakeholders should be consulted. So this has been a Kenyan tradition even before the law was set, yeah.
Martha, there's some, including myself, have always argued that the politician is getting too much role to play in the IEBC. The player is having too much of a role to play in the referee selection. Right? What's an election? An election is where the citizens take their sovereignty and they delegate it to their elected representatives. The most important stakeholder in an election is a citizen. Why is the delegated representative coming to dictate how the citizen shall delegate that authority?
Precisely. You therefore cannot leave it to one player who has interest in the elections, and that's Dr. William Ruto, to go appointing the chairman and everybody else to the exclusion of other players. So you bring politicians, you bring all of them. Otherwise, you look for a mechanism that can help select without any politician. But don't bring one like the favored son, or as the Muluhya would say, Mwana Wamberi.
The selection panel is meant to comprise of minority, majority, members of the ruling coalition, PSC, all of those political appointees. Is the problem now that we don't have a clear way of telling who is majority, who is minority? It seems to be all one melting pot of politicians.
The point is, even after following all that process, the picking of the final names, you must involve the other side. And we are saying ODM is not the other side. ODM is the same side as KK. Yeah.
I just want to push back on this a little bit before we move on to the next point. The other side is in the selection panel. The politicians, again, and I do not agree with it, but be it as it may, a majority of the members of the selection panel are picked by the politicians. The Parliamentary Service Commission, the non-parliamentary political parties, and they all contribute here. That means that the other side has also participated in selecting, in interviewing, and vetting the candidates for the IEBC. When the names are taken to the president, they're taken to the president in his capacity as head of state, not at that point, not as politician. Pick, appoint.
If the law says, even at that last stage, you must consult, and if indeed he's acting as head of state, not as a party, why does he slyly skip that last step? That shows his interest and his underhand dealing.
So
that's precisely the problem.
Now that we are where we are, then, so what happens next? I saw the other day there was a news item that was saying that opposition leader Kalonzo Musyoka was calling for a people's IEBC and so on and so forth.
He's not alone in that. We are going to form a people's IEBC.
What does that mean, Martha?
It just means that we will form a body that will focus on every step that IEBC makes, hold it to account.
A shadow IEBC.
We will form our own to be able to, on a 24-hour basis, minute by minute, mirror that IEBC. Corruption starts with procurement, and if you have noticed, the secretariat of a non-existent IEBC, because up to now they've not been sworn in, we have none, the secretariat of a headless body is busy starting the procurement problem. The secretariat itself is a problem. It needs an overhaul. That's where the corruption starts. And that's how the electoral system gets fully, wholly compromised. So all these are steps to watch. And because not everybody can be able to monitor minute by minute, we are not taking it lying down. We're going to be able to check what is being done and to take appropriate action without specifying which one, just appropriate.
I get the call for a people's IEBC, but what would make this a people's IEBC one? Because it could be said that's now the opposition's IEBC, not the people's IEBC.
Let's get to that debate after you see the selection. Yeah, and in the same breath, you should be calling out this as a William Ruto IEBC, because he finished the process on his own without the others. Yeah. So it's balancing the William Ruto Commission with the people's IEBC.
Will you challenge this in court? Because we have a current team. We have a chairperson who's been nominated. It's before Parliament. We've got commissioners who've been nominated. They're going through vetting in Parliament. But you say that the process of nominating them and forwarding their name to Parliament is unlawful. Will it be challenged?
Personally, I was not part of NADCO. But my colleagues who were part of NADCO are at liberty, and Kenyans who have seen the law are at liberty to challenge. But don't put the responsibility on me as a person. Yeah.
The question I'm going to ask, maybe you've alluded or answered to it, but given obviously the deep frustration that Kenyans have, whether it's with unconstitutional arrests, etc., what does the opposition formation have to prove first to Kenyans to show that they're cleaning house? Because some might argue some of the tactics or some of what's been said is a throwback too. So as an opposition formation, what do you think you need to prove first to convince Kenyans we're here to clean house?
We are in our infancy. We are forming our structures. I think the focus always is on the government in power. When we reach that stage of marketing our candidatures, then you will check the qualifications of each of the person marketing themselves. And you will also check our joint agenda for Kenya, because we're going to come up with a platform for transformation by which then we can be judged. But at the moment, the people who must account blow by blow to the people of Kenya is William Ruto and his KK and Brigade and allies. They must tell us why they are imposing land tax akin to the colonial government on landowners throughout the country, why they are introducing punitive tax, why they have styled themselves as an extractive regime that wants to extract every drop of blood, every penny from the already suffering Kenyan citizen without any commensurate service.
Right, and in line with that, just very quickly, in line with that, again, and this is a question we pose to a lot of, the lead who come here, is whether there's also going to be an integration of young voices and whether it's going to make enough room for these voices to almost be heard as loudly as the voices that have been there for a long time.
Yes, and the young people have been there. I would urge the media to give them as much room as they gave us. For instance, I'll say my Secretary General is a Gen Z. She was at Wamunyoro. She wasn't covered, though she spoke. There were other youth who speak. Every party has their membership, which has every generation. But the focus is on those who have been. So I urge the media to help us amplify young people's voices, not just within the opposition coalition or within government, but generally, so that those who are upcoming leaders can also have a chance to showcase their prowess to the country. And in the PLP party, we make sure that our young people do shine, and they are decision makers. They don't just fill the space. They are decision makers, and they are within the national executive and within the higher ranks of the party.
I think I must just point this out, because I've observed and seen that your party, you are basically grooming young leaders, and you're letting them take the reins of the party. It's a good thing to see. Coming back onto opposition unity, you've been here before, Martha.
Yeah.
Between 92 and 97, there was a whole excitement of multipartyism and so many political parties coming up. 97 to 2002, there was now the push for all these opposition forces to unite.
Yeah.
As Moi was leaving, making sure that Moi leaves, and then also seeing who comes in after Moi.
Yeah.
You've been there before, you saw what happened in those 5 years.
Yeah.
Is it similar to what we are seeing now?
Our best...
With the talks of opposition unity and seeing all of you coming together?
Yes, our best was 2002 when Kanu was dethroned, and we are trying to reenact, not in every sense, but a 202, where everybody comes together. You select one leader, and if you remember 202, all the candidates were joint candidates of the opposition. And that is the way we were able to vanquish Kanu in one election. So that is what we would like to see. And I keep telling Kenyans, removing authoritarianism is not a walk in the park. We need every vote, we need everyone. And those who are worried about issues of accountability, that we may remove Dr. Ruto and his regime and bring another authoritarian rule through a different name, are right to worry, because we cannot hold ourselves accountable. I keep saying, the public, you are our accountability partners. You are the ones who are going to select from among ourselves the next leadership. And there's good leadership among the youth, among the middle-aged, and among oldies like myself. It is not about age. We have seen terribly rotten leadership of all ages, including the youth, the old, and the middle-aged, and across the genders. So let us weigh each candidate, and not just for the presidency or the 6 elections. The most important person to you day by day in terms of services is your county government. The county government equals the MCA and governor. Elect those first, and elect credible people in every ward and in the county. Then go to the national parliament. That is your women rep, your constituency MP, and your senator. Elect people who are value-based leaders and who are servant leaders. Then finally, top it with electing a credible leader as the president. Selecting only one election to concentrate on is not doing Kenya and ourselves a favor. Let us worry about all 6 elections. And yes, the opposition is worried about the 6 elections.
Okay. Let's take a break with Martha Karua, the People's Liberation Party leader. When we come back, we want to also follow up on what's happening in Tanzania, where the home of Governor George Natembeya has been visited by a heavily armed contingent of officers. Our reporter Evans Jaolo is there and has been sending us the footage that you've been seeing. We'll be speaking to him shortly after this. It's 8:30. Good morning. Keep it here. Nation FM, NTV, and everywhere else on digital platforms.
Share.
Indeed, we have very many comments and some, feedback on the conversation that we're having with Martha Karua, the People's Liberation Party leader. Before we get into that, let's just cross over quickly into what's happening in Tanzania, where the home of Governor George Natembeya has been raided by a contingent of police officers. And our reporter, Evans Jaola, is there and he's been speaking to us. Evans, you told us the other just before we, the other time when you spoke about half an hour ago, that the officers were in there. You were not sure what they were there up to. There was questions whether they are escorting officers from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. There are residents also who have come to their home in solidarity with their governor. So what's happening now?
Thank you. As just said, what we confirmed, some EACC officers were escorted by anti-guard police officers, and they are still inside. Up to now, we have not authoritatively confirmed if the governor is inside, but some of the county top officials have made their way into the home, including members of county assembly and top county executive officers. But as it stands now, still there's a lot of tension here. Residents have come outside the home, and they are trying to change with the police. But there's a bit of calm. Even as we wait to see what are the situation inside. I'm here with the council official who will just tell us maybe anything that he's aware of. What do you think is happening?
So at the moment, the residents have come. The goon, the residents have come. They're bitter. They're wondering why the EACC have come to frustrate their government. Actually, they're also wondering why the EACC officers have come with boxes, bags, wamezingiza kwa ndani, wanashinda mimi mbaya. So they're so hungry, that's why I'm bitter for this. Okay. Maybe just to let our viewer know, I've just talked to a close family relative of the governor, and they say they are upset with what the officers, the engagement of the officers, because they're saying the situation has made a bit of a threat to the family, maybe including his children. But also an update is that some of the angry residents here have deflected the tires of the officers from EACC. The vehicles that are outside the home have been deflected their tires, and so there's a bit of tension here, even as we expect what will happen later. As of now, we have not received any official communication, maybe from the police, of really what the exercise is going on. But some of the residents are angry, saying would have called the governor, the EACC, or find him to his office. But what is happening here, they are seeing it as a threat to the governor.
Thank you, Evans. And just an update as well, we have spoken to the CEO of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, who has confirmed to NTV that yes, the EACC is involved in this particular raid to the home of Governor George Natembeya. So yeah, the EACC is involved in this raid to the home of Governor George Natembeya. The details of the particular investigation that they're conducting are still not clear, but they're escorting, police officers are escorting the EACC officers. The EACC says they're doing a routine check.
But they also have a warrant.
And they have a warrant to
for a routine check.
To do the routine check. To get into the home and to do the investigations that they are conducting, the investigation. So we'll get more updates, of course, as the day progresses. Back to our conversation with Martha Karua and many comments.
Many comments. We have General saying, a government, General, this is on YouTube, a government that opposes the opposition becomes a weak government. Okay. There's people here saying, who are the good leaders? They're there. Perhaps they failed the first time. Are we recycling them? A lot of different comments. In fact, I wanted to bring this to Senior Counsel and say, we recently had Senator Onyonka and also asked him about the mistakes, quote unquote, of, say, Fred Matiang'i. And I think the point I'm trying to make is, how do you navigate yourself out of pushing forward, say, with PLP and saying, this is how I want to drive change in Kenya, when many times there are people who hold you to the mistakes of your past? How do you hold those two truths together as you navigate this political space?
You put the mistake forward, the perceived mistake, and I answer it because I believe that I perform to my best in every public position I have held. I was an activist before being elected, as a youthful person, as a Gen Z at that time, and a backbencher parliamentarian for 10 years. I believed I performed nationally as a member of the National Assembly, performed as a member of parliament for Gachagua. I was Minister of Water. I believe I performed rolling out water sector reforms which endure to today. I performed as Minister of Justice. The highlight being the making of the constitutional framework, a legal framework that helped complete the constitution, not to mention campaigning for it later as a backbencher. I have been constant, a constant voice since 2012 when I exited Parliament. I have remained a national voice. Not because of pay, because I've not been employed, but because serving the nation is a calling. So everybody will be able to explain themselves.
For what they've done.
For what they have done.
Let me give you three
and
questions.
We'll be able to answer any allegation. Yeah.
It's one,
yeah.
but it's coming from three different people.
Yeah,
Jeff
yeah.
Charlo
Yeah.
says, Mother, don't pretend to be holier than thou. That's what you did when you were in charge of the justice docket. Derek says, 2007, 2008, you, Martha, twisted the will of the people. And then Smallest Ever says, I saw a comment here by Smallest Ever. Yes, Martha should know that if Raila had been given his win in 2007, which she denied, Kenya's history and present would likely be different today. Probability law supports his view. All of them are pointing to the 2007 general
that
election.
207 is a tired old tale by people who refuse to go back to the archives, because perhaps those are people who were not even there in 207. The perpetrators of violence were taken to The Hague. 2 of them have been elected president of the country. The lone voice saying we must obey the law in 207 was Martha Karua. That is the person you want the men involved in the atrocities to wipe off their bloody hands on her skirt. So I'm saying, go back and see what it is. There's a video online. Listen to that video. Listen to me saying, this election will not be won by shouting, but by the ballot. I was sticking to the rule of law. There are other videos, me calling out ODM and telling Raila as leader of ODM that he bears responsibility for the atrocities committed by his people in the Rift Valley, his supporters in the Rift Valley. So go back, get those clips. My only crime, asking them to follow the rule of law and standing as Kibaki's agent. Kibaki deserved an agent, just like Raila deserved Orengo as his agent. So those are myths. I have followed the rule of law.
You did
I will
what you did.
continue. I'll continue championing the rule of law. I was also Kibaki's chief negotiator. Was that a crime? Wasn't Kibaki supposed to have somebody? I voted for him and I was following my vote. And I think I did fairly well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Looking back, Martha, you are Kibaki's chief agent.
Yeah.
And what happened, happened.
Yeah.
We even had the Kriegler investigation and all. But just looking at the events of that evening,
Yeah.
when power went out, power comes back, election announcement, and all
Did
so on and
power
so
go
forth.
out?
There was.
I was at KICC.
There was broadcast, rather. It's not power. It's a
You know,
broadcast goes
those
on.
are the tales that people build on. I was at KICC. No power went out. We were there all night, verifying the results. So these tales that get built upon, these are old, tired narratives. Let people, and I always ask online, so what specific crime do you charge me with? Or you supported, you helped Kibaki, like Kibaki didn't need support. Those who went to the ICC were charged with crimes against humanity. It cannot be that those who investigated then when it was fresh missed out Martha Karua, but 30 years later, somebody who wasn't there now knows it was Martha Karua. You know, today, I'm with my brothers in the opposition, even right here in this studio. You are asking me about my brothers. I don't have a baby politically who is on my back. Ask me about me. Ask my brothers about themselves. It's so much easier for people, I don't know why in this patriarchal society, to ask women to carry the responsibilities of men. There was an electoral commission headed by Kivuito, whose name was not Martha Karua, it was Samuel Kivuito. There was a chief justice called Evans Geshero. So when you say, oh, you swore Kibaki at night, of course I witnessed the swearing in quite happily. But what happens to all those men? Kibaki himself was an adult. So don't force me as though I have a political baby on my back. Ask me about Martha Karua's action, not anybody else's action. And by the way, I was also not minister in charge of security. As minister in charge of justice, my work was to champion rule of law, period, and I did it.
When about Martha Karua's actions, recently there's been coming together of Martha and Rigiji. A lot of people who know your politics and your stances over the years would see a conflict of values there between Rigathi Gachagua and Martha Karua. His politics have been, to some people, divisive, have been also very mountain-oriented. Does that speak to, anything as far as, is it a marriage of political convenience?
I will unite with everybody that I have to unite with in order to liberate this country. The question of personal accountability is at the personal level and at the voters' level when you are voting in leaders. And I think if you're talking of a divisive leader, the divisive leader in chief is none other than Dr. William Ruto, where every time he sees somebody from the mountain, he is saying tribalism, not seeing his own tribalism. I'll put it at other leaders. So I am not going to judge. I will hold hands with my brother and with all the others. He's not the only one. Why do you single him out? He's not the only one I have united with.
Indeed, he isn't. But you've been speaking about
I have been with everyone. That doesn't mean their values have become my values or my values have become theirs. But sometimes working together and binding yourself together in an agreement, in a national platform, that then we market to the people, that the stage at which you can ask, does that national platform conform to the Constitution? It is a work in progress. And we are together united to liberate and have a better government, not liberate and have more of the same.
The common goal is to liberate and have a better
I wanted to throw it in here and say, because you said that, one of the things that you really want to see done is to remove this Kenya Kwanza administration from office. Make sure it doesn't come back. Some of the Kenya Kwanza administration people who were kicked out, Justin Muturi, Mithika Nturi, Rigathi Gachagua, are now in this alliance of yours. Does that not make you uncomfortable in the least bit? And just before I let you respond, I'm piggybacking that on what some comments are saying here, that McCoy says, I feel she finds herself with the wrong team, which makes us wonder if she's one of them, you don't have to join a team that you can stand on your own. He or she who stands alone is the strongest. And someone else says, Moses Mwai, why does she constantly choose the same political outfits? Why can't she try other people like Omtata etc.? Because how can we vote for her when she's tied herself to the same characters that we want out?
Right. It was a question that was also at the back of my mind. Does Kenya have a shortage of leaders whose ethics are not so questionable that we can side with?
You sit here every day talking to the people. I have not heard you question the ethics of William Ruto.
Oh, we have every day.
But Martha,
no,
and his KK regime, because I know, maybe I'll give it to you, the Nation and the Standard, you've really questioned. You have been on that trajectory. But him and his leaders, that's where, this is a diversion. To start attacking the coming together of opposition, we have not even put a platform together until diverting us from holding these people to account. And I'm saying, I am the same person, and I've been the same person. And hold on, Kenyans. Wait for the national platform. Hold us to account on it jointly. But for now, hold me to account as Martha. Do not ask me to account for my brother, but I'll walk with everybody. In church, when you enter, imagine you associate with thieves, with murderers, with everybody. You do not leave your church because somebody else has entered. So these questions that are coming, people are very judgmental. In fact, people have been saying, same forest, same monkeys. I want to add one. Same citizens who elect people who are not worthy knowingly. So same monkey, same forest where the politicians like me are concerned, but same mwananchi. We are not importing new ones. Why don't we accept that we have not done well as a nation, and then reason together and see how to move.
Okay.
Instead of pointing
fingers. I have a quick question. I don't want to miss it, but what is the one policy commitment that signals that PLP isn't necessarily a rebrand of NARC Kenya?
To begin with, NARC Kenya had not committed any offense. So you cannot say that the rebrand of NARC Kenya, nothing wrong with NARC Kenya. But just like we do, you change your outfit, you repaint your house. So we've repainted. We've always been a party whose heart is close to issues of social justice. Social justice is fairness, especially to the vulnerable. A Martha Karua government or a PLP government would have a just economy where citizens are not overtaxed, where you broaden the tax base, keep the taxes low, and prioritize use of the taxes to the basic needs of the people. And I keep saying, people think running an economy is rocket science. The same prudence you use with your finances is the same prudence you use on national finances, where you cannot go buying an outfit or a car when your child is at home without fees, or when the landlord is evicting you, or when your child is sick. You start with the priorities. We would weed out all the non-priority items. We would stop the leakage through theft and abuse of funds. Why do you buy fuel guzzlers, new ones every so often, for those in authority, and at the same time say you do not have 1.6 billion for vaccines for children, or 1 billion, for instance, to pay for the exams? You know, you just have to do what is right and also obey the rules. A Martha Karua PLP administration would run Kenya with our operational manual, which is the Constitution of Kenya. There's a chapter on public finance that tells you the do's and don'ts of public money, that it must be used for the best interests of the people, that the human resources also must be applied to the best interests of the people, making sure that also you respect the rights of the people as is written in the Constitution. No abductions, no gangster-style raids on a governor's home or on a DP's residence. You arrest them. You first summon them. They don't come, you arrest them. You do not have to terrorize the entire country. Those people seeing what is happening at Tantabea's home feel terrorized. You terrorize his children, you terrorize the people of Trans Nzoia, you terrorize Kenya. We do not want a gangster-style administration. We want an administration that respects the rule of law, respects those who are out. Those who care to remember, when we were campaigning in 2022 and I was Raila's running mate, I kept on saying that should we win, we will also look after the opposition. Looking after them doesn't mean patronizing them. Means letting them have their space as provided by the law. That is missing. Yeah.
We have to wrap up now. We have about 3 minutes to the top of the hour. As a last clarion call, because we talk about this politics of change very much so, what is required from the political class, one, and from the people, so that we can actually forgive this house properly?
The political class is unity of purpose with a national transformation agenda, which then the people will have contributed to and can hold them to account on. From the population, this is your job too. Leaders cannot liberate without citizens being part of it. Become part of the transformation you need. And while at it, let us discuss the role of money in politics. If you expect handouts from the people, then you do not want good governance. Let us only look for the values a leader espouses, for their past performance, for their history and credentials, not for their money. And let us as Kenyans start contributing to political parties, both ideas and money, and the same to candidates. That way we will grow our democracy. Let us not elect because of money. I hear people saying, Martha can be a good candidate, but she doesn't have money. I don't have to give you a shilling. I have never had money ready for any campaign. Money should be mobilized. And I'm always ready to mobilize. And I never lack because there are Kenyans who donate. Small and big, in cash and in kind. Join the liberation movement. It's about you as a youth. It's about you as middle-aged. It's about you as a senior citizen. We are a family, and Kenya is a family. Right. And our home.
Thank you, Martha.
Meru Open Podcast, Martha Karua will always remain the mother of our nation. She's strong, not politically only, but takes Kenya to the point where we all need.
Thank you.
And that's Moses has followed up with saying, my question wasn't a diversion. It was just an honest question. This is my second election. Again, why choose the same characters we want out? We want you, not them. Charles Okenyoru says, Karua, do anything, even if it's joining witches, but ensure that KK government is down.
And Jeffrey Ndai, no doubt of all possible candidates with experience, except Mtata Karua is the cleanest. The history shows consistency. Come out strong. Karua.
Come out strong.
You'll always have those mixed.
Thank you.
But thank you all the same.
Yes.
Martha Karua, the party leader for the People's Liberation Party, has been our guest for the last 1.5 hours. And thank you for joining us. And wish all the best to compatriots who are still in Tanzania.
Right.
We know there is Boniface Mwangi who's there, Willie Mutunga is there, Hussein Khalid and Hanifa Adan. And we'll be following up on what's happening right there.
Okay.
I think Martha has a message for them. We can share it after the break.
After the break. Okay. Thank you.
9 a.m. Good morning.